You set a goal. You wrote it down. You told yourself this time was going to be different. You believed it for a few weeks. And then, somewhere between week 4 and week 8, it quietly fell apart, just like the last one did, and the one before that. You probably blamed your discipline. You probably told yourself you needed more willpower. You probably bought another book about motivation, or attended another seminar, or watched another talk, looking for the missing piece that would this time make the goal stick. And here's the truth. The missing piece was never willpower. The missing piece was always architecture. Most goals fail because of how they were set, not because of how hard the person tried. The architecture was wrong from the beginning. No amount of effort can rescue a goal that was structurally doomed before the work even started. You see, there is a difference between setting goals the way you've been setting them and setting goals the way people who actually hit their goals set them. The difference is not in the size of the dreams. It is in the structure underneath. And the structure is something you can learn today and apply starting tomorrow with whatever goal is sitting in front of you right now. Today, I want to walk you through 5 things that have to be true about a goal in order for it to stick. None of them are about you trying harder. All of them are about how you're constructing the goal in the first place. Get the architecture right, and the goal does most of the work for you. Get it wrong, and no amount of effort will save it. By the end of this, you'll know why your past goals collapsed, and you'll know how to build the next one so it doesn't. I am telling you, this might be the most practical talk you ever sit through, because every year you spend setting goals that fail is a year you lost to bad architecture. Today we fix the architecture. Now, before we get into the 5 things, you have to understand what is at stake. Because every goal you set and fail to achieve is doing damage that most people never count. They see the immediate disappointment. They didn't lose the weight. They didn't write the book. They didn't hit the income target. They don't see the deeper damage. Here's the truth. Every goal you fail to hit teaches your subconscious that your promises to yourself don't matter. And after enough of those lessons, you stop believing your own intentions. You set smaller goals because you don't trust yourself to do the bigger ones. You stop telling people what you want because you've been embarrassed too many times by the failures. You become somebody who, deep down, has lost faith in their own word. And that loss of self-trust is the most expensive thing that can happen to a human being. Because almost everything you might build in your life depends on you being able to make a commitment to yourself and follow through. When that capacity is broken, nothing big is reachable. You can't pursue the things that would require sustained effort because you no longer believe sustained effort is something you're capable of. You see, the cost of failed goals isn't measured in disappointment. It is measured in the slow erosion of your relationship with yourself. Every year of setting and missing builds another brick in the wall between who you are and who you could become. After 10 years, the wall is enormous. And by the time most people are 40, they've stopped seriously setting goals at all because the failures hurt too much. And they've decided it's safer to want less than to keep believing they'll do more. But the answer isn't to want less. The answer is to learn how to set goals that actually hold. To learn the architecture that produces a different result. Because the version of you that hits goals is not a more disciplined version of you. It is a version of you who learned somewhere along the way how to construct a goal so it survives the months of effort it takes to reach it. You must take this seriously because the next decade of your life is going to be shaped by the goals you set and the percentage of them you actually hit. Get the architecture right today, and that percentage flips. You go from somebody who sets 10 goals and hits one to somebody who sets one goal and hits it. And the version of you that lives with that kind of consistency is somebody you haven't yet met. 5 things, all of them about how the goal is constructed. None of them about trying harder. Listen, you must take this part seriously. Get them right, and the next decade is reachable. Get them wrong, and you're going to be sitting here 10 years from now, having had the same conversation with yourself 10 more times. The first thing that has to be true about a goal is that it is specific and measurable. Not aspirational, not directional, specific. With a number attached, or a milestone you can clearly identify, or a date you can see on a calendar. You see, most people set goals that sound like get in better shape, save more money, be a better parent, get more organized. Every one of those is a wish, not a goal, because none of them have any way of being completed. There's no moment when you have gotten in better shape. There's no day when you have saved more money. The goal is open-ended, which means it never gets achieved, which means it lives as a permanent reproach to you for the rest of your life. Here's the truth. A goal you cannot measure is a goal you cannot hit, because hitting it requires you to know when you've hit it. And if there's no measurement, there's no hitting. You are walking toward a horizon that never arrives. And after a year of walking, you give up because you haven't gotten any closer to a place that, by design, you couldn't get to. The fix is to make every goal specific. Get in shape becomes bench press my body weight by December 10th. Save more money becomes have $20,000 in savings by the end of next year. Be a better parent becomes have dinner with my kids without any work distractions 4 nights a week. The new versions are completable. There's a number, there's a date, there's a state you can either be in or not be in, and you can know clearly which one applies. That clarity is the difference between a goal that pulls you forward and a wish that just sits in your head, judging you. You must understand why the specificity matters. The specificity is what lets your brain plan. Your brain cannot work backwards from be a better parent. It can work backwards from 4 dinners a week without distractions. It can figure out what days to schedule them, what conversations to have with your spouse, what habits to change at work to make it possible. The specific version gives the brain something to do. The vague version gives it nothing. And the specificity also makes failure useful. If you miss the target, you can see by how much. You can see what worked and what didn't. You can adjust for the next attempt. The vague goal, when you miss it, just leaves you feeling like a vague failure, which is the worst kind, because there's nothing to learn from it. The next goal you write down, you must check it against this test. Is it specific? Is it measurable? Can I know on a given day whether I've hit it? If the answer is no to any of those, the goal isn't a goal yet. It's still a wish. Rewrite it until it becomes a goal. Only then is it worth taking seriously. The second thing that has to be true is that the goal must be paired with a why that goes deeper than the goal itself. Without that why, the goal is going to collapse the first time the work gets hard, and the work is going to get hard. Every meaningful goal includes months of work that feels pointless from the inside. You see, the motivation that comes from the goal alone is shallow. It feels strong at the start, when you're imagining how good it'll feel to hit the target. But the feeling fades. The novelty wears off. The day-to-day work becomes routine. And the question creeps in, why am I doing this again? If your answer is just, because I set this goal, that's not going to be enough. You will quit. Not dramatically, quietly. You will start skipping the daily action. You will tell yourself you're taking a short break. The short break will become a long one. And by month 4, the goal is in the drawer with all the previous ones. And you've added another failure to the pile. Here's the truth. The people who hit goals are not the ones who want the outcome the most. They are the ones who connected the outcome to a deeper why that survives the hard months. The why is what they remember on the days they don't feel like doing the work. The why is what they pull out when the goal alone has stopped pulling them forward. The why isn't just, I want this. That's the goal. The why is the layer underneath. Why do I want this? What would having it actually change about my life? What does this enable that I can't reach otherwise? Who am I trying to be? What am I trying to leave behind? The person who wants to save $20,000 by next year and stops there isn't going to make it. The person who wants to save $20,000 because they want to leave a job that's destroying their soul and the $20,000 is the runway to do it is going to make it. Same goal, different why. The second why carries them through the months when the first why would have left them stranded. You got to find the deeper layer before you commit to the goal. Sit with the goal. Ask yourself why it matters. When you answer, ask why that matters. Keep asking until you get to something that doesn't have anything beneath it. That bedrock thing is your why. That's what you reach for when the surface motivation is run out. And you must write the why down on the same page as the goal. Look at it every single day. Every time you look at the goal. Because the goal will fade. The work will get heavy. And the only thing that's going to keep you moving is the layer of meaning underneath that the goal alone could never have produced. The third thing that has to be true is something almost nobody believes when they hear it. You got to keep the goal private most of the way until you have already done most of the work. Because telling people about your goals before you've earned the right to talk about them will quietly bury the goal in a way you won't see coming. Here's the truth. When you tell somebody about a goal you haven't started yet, your brain treats the telling as a small form of accomplishment. You get social reward for the announcement. The reward feels good. The brain notes the feeling. And then, because you've already received some of the reward you were going to get from actually doing the thing, your motivation to do it drops. This is a well-documented psychological phenomenon. People who publicly announce their goals end up less likely to achieve them than people who keep them quiet, because the announcement substituted for some of the work. The brain felt the doing through the saying. And after the saying, the doing felt redundant. You see, this is the opposite of what most people are taught. They are told to tell everyone, make yourself accountable. Put it out there so you can't back down. And the research and the practical experience of most people who have actually hit big goals says the opposite. The quiet ones get there. The loud ones talk about getting there for years and never arrive. You must keep the goal private at first. You tell maybe one person, someone you trust, someone who is committed to your growth, someone whose opinion you can use as feedback rather than as social reward. Not your whole social circle, not the people you want to impress, not the people who will be impressed by the announcement. and you let the work be quiet. You do the daily action. You make the progress. You don't brag about it. You don't talk about it at dinner parties. You don't make announcements. You just do the thing for months, maybe a year, maybe longer. And here's what happens. Because you haven't been getting social reward for the saying, your brain stays hungry for the reward that only comes from the doing. The motivation stays strong. The work keeps happening. The progress accumulates. And one day, you wake up close to the goal, having done most of the work, with nobody around you having any idea you were even pursuing it. Then, maybe, when you're 80% of the way there, you start to mention it. Because by that point, the talking can't steal what the doing has already built. And the people in your life are impressed, not by the announcement, but by the visible reality of what you've already accomplished. The doing made the announcement true. The announcement made earlier would have prevented the doing. The fourth thing that has to be true is that the goal must be broken down into a daily action. Without a daily action, the goal is a wish. The daily action is the only thing that actually moves you toward the goal. And if you can't name what the daily action is, you don't have a goal yet. You have an intention. You see, the goal lives in the future. Whatever you wrote down, it's a state that will exist at some point, months or years from now. But you don't live in the future. You live today. And the only thing you can do today is take a small action that, if repeated, will eventually produce the future state. That small action is the daily action. And the goal is reachable only to the extent that the daily action is clear, specific, and actually performed every single day. You must understand this before anything else. If the daily action is fuzzy, the goal is fuzzy. If the daily action is not performed, the goal is not moving. Let me tell you about a man I once knew. He had wanted to lose 50 pounds for as long as I'd known him. He had set the goal at the beginning of every year for at least 7 years in a row. Every January. This is the year. 50 pounds by December. He believed it every time he said it. And every year by March, the goal was dead. He'd start strong. He'd eat better for a few weeks. He'd go to the gym a few times. Then the resolve would fade. The old habits would creep back. By summer, he had usually gained back whatever he'd lost. By December, he was the same weight or heavier than he had been at the start of the year. He came to me one January, exhausted by his own pattern. He said, "I don't understand. I set the same goal every year. I want it. I write it down. I tell myself this time is different. And every year, the same thing happens. Why?" I asked him a simple question. I said, "What is the daily action that, if you did it every single day for the next year, would produce the 50-pound loss?" He started to answer. He said something about eating less and exercising more. I stopped him. I said, "No, that's a category. I'm asking for an action. What specifically would you do every morning and every meal without exception for the next year?" He couldn't answer. He had set the goal for 7 years and had never once translated it into a specific daily action. So I helped him construct one. 2 actions, actually. Walk 30 minutes every morning before breakfast. Eat a palm-sized portion of protein with every meal. That's it. He looked at me like that wasn't enough. I told him, "Your goal is the 50 pounds. Your job is the 2 actions. Don't think about the 50 pounds. Think only about the two actions. Walk every morning, protein at every meal, without exception, for 1 year. He did it. Some days, the walk felt easy. Some days it felt impossible. Some meals the protein was natural. Some meals it felt like a hassle. But he did the two actions every day for the year. He didn't track the weight. He didn't think about the goal. He just did the actions. A year later, he had lost 53 pounds. He hadn't been trying to lose weight. He had been walking and eating protein. The weight had come off as a byproduct of the actions because the actions were correctly calibrated to produce the outcome. He told me, for 7 years, I was chasing the goal and getting nothing. The year I forgot the goal and just did the actions, I got the goal without trying. The goal was never the work. The action was the work. The goal was the result of the action, not its replacement. That is the entire trick of Facet 4. You break the goal into the action. You forget the goal. You just do the action. The goal arrives on its own while you weren't looking, because the action was always going to produce it. The fifth thing that has to be true is that the goal must have a meaningful consequence attached, a penalty for missing it or a reward for hitting it. Without consequences, the goal lives in a vacuum where it doesn't really matter whether you reach it or not. And things that don't matter don't get done. You see, most goals are set without any consequence at all. You write the goal down, you tell yourself you'll hit it. And if you don't, the only consequence is some private disappointment that you can mostly avoid by not thinking about it. There's nothing in the external world that depends on the outcome. There's nothing waiting for you on either side of the line. And here's the truth. When nothing is waiting on either side, your brain doesn't take the goal seriously. It treats it as preference, not commitment. And preferences get pushed aside the moment something more urgent comes up. The goal that has no consequences is the goal that gets quietly abandoned the first week. Things get busy. But here's the truth. You must attach something real to the outcome. The fix is to attach a consequence that exists in the external world. On the penalty side, money you'll donate to a cause you hate if you miss the goal. A commitment to a friend that you'll do something significant if you fail. A public reckoning after enough time has passed that the talking won't steal the doing. Something that hurts a little, that makes the prospect of failure carry actual weight. On the reward side, something specific that you have promised yourself if you hit it. A trip, a purchase, an experience, not a vague good feeling. A concrete reward you're looking forward to, planned in advance, that exists in the future as a kind of pull on your daily behavior. Most people pick one of these, either the penalty or the reward. Use whatever works for your psychology. Some people respond more to the pain of loss. Some people respond more to the pull of gain. You probably know which one motivates you more. Pick that one and make it specific. Make it written. Make it real. You cannot keep setting goals with nothing on the line and expecting your effort to be there when motivation fades. The line is what holds the effort in place when motivation has gone. The line is what makes the goal real to a brain that mostly cares about avoiding pain and chasing pleasure. And once you've set the consequence, you cannot back out of it. The consequence is sacred. If you set a penalty and you fail, the penalty must happen. If it doesn't happen, the next penalty you set won't work because your brain has learned that consequences are negotiable. Make them non-negotiable from the first goal. The discipline of honoring the line is what gives every future line its power. So here's the inversion you have to make. Goal setting, the way you've been doing it, has been incomplete. You picked a target and tried hard. The trying wasn't the problem. The architecture around the trying was the problem. The architecture has 5 pieces, specific and measurable, paired with a why deeper than the goal, kept private until you've earned the right to share, broken into a daily action with a meaningful consequence attached. 5 pieces, all of them required. The goal collapses if any one of them is missing. Most people get 1 or 2 right. They pick something specific sometimes. They might have a vague sense of why. They tell everybody too soon. They never identify the daily action. They attach no consequences. And then they wonder why the goal didn't stick. You must get all 5 right before you start the work. Before you commit to the timeline, before you even set the goal in stone, you sit down with whatever the goal is and you check it against the 5. Is it specific? Yes. Is there a deeper why? Yes. And you've written it down. Are you going to keep it private until you've done most of the work? Yes. Have you identified the specific daily action? Yes. Have you attached a consequence? Yes. Only after all 5 are answered yes do you commit to the goal. The construction is the work. The construction is what most people skip because they want to get to the trying. The construction is what makes the trying actually produce a result. And once you've set the goal correctly, the trying gets dramatically easier because the structure is doing most of the work for you. The specific target tells you when you're done. The deeper why pulls you forward on hard days. The privacy keeps your motivation fresh. The daily action is small enough to actually do. The consequence makes failure carry a real cost. Inside that architecture, the goal becomes reachable in a way it never was before. Not because you're trying harder, because the goal is finally constructed correctly. And a correctly constructed goal does not need heroic effort to be reached. It needs daily effort, consistently applied for the months it takes. That's the whole reframe. Stop blaming your willpower. Start examining your architecture. The goals you've failed at weren't your fault. The construction was wrong. Get the construction right. And the goal you'd have failed at last year becomes the goal you hit by Christmas. So here is what I want you to carry with you. There is a goal sitting in your mind right now. Maybe it's the one you set last January. Maybe it's the one you've been carrying for years. Maybe it's the one you've never quite been brave enough to write down. Take that goal tonight. Sit down with a piece of paper. Run it through the 5 tests. Is it specific and measurable? If not, rewrite it until it is. Is there a why deeper than the goal itself? If not, find the deeper layer and write it down. Will you keep it private until you've earned the right to share? Decide that now and stick to it. Have you broken it into a daily action? If not, identify the action that, repeated every day, will produce the goal. Have you attached a consequence? If not, attach one tonight. That whole construction takes maybe an hour. An hour is the difference between a goal that collapses in March and a goal that you actually hit. Most people won't spend the hour. They want to get to the doing. So they set the goal in 3 minutes and spend the next year failing at it. You can be different. Spend the hour. I am telling you, this is the secret most people never figure out. The architecture is the work. The architecture is what produces the result. And the architecture takes 1 hour of careful thought, once before the project starts. Pick the goal that matters most to you, just one. Construct it correctly. Then start the daily action tomorrow morning and do it every single day for the next year without breaking. By next December, you will have hit something you have been failing to hit for years. Not because you tried harder, because you finally constructed the goal in a way that allowed the trying to actually work. And after that goal is hit, the next one becomes easier. You must trust that. Every single day you build the daily action is a day you're closer to the goal and to the version of yourself who hits goals. Because you have proven to yourself that you can construct a goal and reach it. That capacity, once installed, is permanent. You can use it for the rest of your life. You can apply it to anything. And the version of you who has that capacity is somebody you haven't yet been. Build it. Starting tonight, with the 1 hour, the whole next decade is downstream of how well you spend that hour. You cannot afford to set another goal the way you've been setting them. The cost has been too high already. The years you've lost, the self-trust you've damaged, the smaller life you've settled for. All of it is downstream of bad architecture. You can fix the architecture tonight. The fix takes an hour, not more. Sit down with paper. Run through the 5 tests. Spend the hour. Then go do the work every single day for the year it takes to hit the goal. That's how it actually happens. The way you've been doing it wasn't working. The way I'm describing does. Try it once. Watch what happens.